Alright, so basically just want to kind of start this recording and see the responses. So this is not going to be too complicated or extensive. So this was a shot that I did with Lindsay, I think a couple of weeks back, at Pasadena City Hall or the area around it. I basically just kind of loaded up with a few kind of adjustments already. So this one is basically we're fixing the skin with frequency separation, which is a very common kind of practice. So the initial kind of first things that I did was basically just kind of just get rid of the abnormalities and that sort of stuff, just to make sure that the skin looks smooth, but at the same time not too perfect. So my thing always is not to get rid of like these things because they typically belong to a model, a model's natural appearance. Sometimes if the model requests, I will get rid of them, but most of the time I don't, just because it kind of represents the trueness of the picture. After that is kind of the usual stuff. Got rid of this flyaway hair with an adjustment layer. So basically just kind of erase the flyaway hair. It's not a big deal. I typically don't kind of smooth everything out just because it looks kind of fake, especially in an outdoor setting. You typically want to kind of maintain what's already there. After that, it just, again, very typical kind of dodge and burn. Got my workflows loaded up here, so most of the time just one click away to get stuff, which is quite convenient and saves a lot of time most of the time. And to continue with the dodge and burn, so most of the time you kind of want to, I forgot my brush there. So most of the time you kind of want to highlight the things that's already supposed to be in a highlight, but because of the processing of the image with Lightroom, I usually import my images to Lightroom because it's just a much easier way to manage things. And then when I edit initially on Lightroom first with the raw processing. I mean, different photographers have their different workflows, but this is just how I choose to do it because it has always worked for me, and it's been good. So I've decided to kind of stay with it. Sometimes I don't care about these leaves, and well, unless they kind of block the shoe or whatever. But most of the time, I just leave them be, just because sometimes the small things will give the liveliness to a image, and it's not really noticeable if you pick them apart, but once you kind of have the entire picture together, you begin to see the difference. Again, I'm just kind of giving highlight to places where I'm supposed to highlight, especially with this dress. This dress, if you look at the original image, this dress is a all black dress, so it does make a difference when you kind of highlight things just to give it more layer, which is kind of important, so that your image is not dull, so to speak. So okay, so after the dodge and burn, basically just got away with the what they call it, assistant layer or facilitating layer. I don't know. It just it serves its function to turn the entire image black and white, so that I can see the highlight clearly. And here's this is what I mean. So basically going back to dodge and burn, let's see what kind of effect it has brought. So here we go. This is the before. This is the after. So you can see the dress really kind of came to life when you give it highlight. It's already a black dress, so we don't need to burn that much. We don't need to give the shadow enhancement that much. So basically just give it highlight and you can see the difference between the before. So again, this is before and this is after, so you can really see the difference there. Make sure to save my progress because I've lost hours of work before without saving stuff, so I'm going to do that now that I've grown. Again, this is just a kind of a test editing, so I'm going to drag over because these two images are fairly similar to each other in terms of lighting and stuff. So this is the image that's already edited, and if you compare it to the before, so this is what it was or what it looked like, and this is what it looked like after editing. Give it a minute to load. There we go. So this is what it looked like after editing. Sometimes I kind of decrease the vibrancy a little bit, just because most of the time I don't want the pictures to be too distracting in a way. It doesn't look good, and it always helps to have kind of, you know, several key colors that you want to highlight. Oops, what did I do? Okay, here we go. And again, because it's just a showcase kind of live stream, just testing the responses from people, so I'm just going to quickly go through these things, and if people like it, obviously I'm going to record a more in-depth video with fashion editing, but this is what I'm going to do just for today, just to make sure that we have a decent image going on. There's some small tricks in here and there, but that's kind of my trade secret, so I'm not going to review too much here, but to fine-tune the coloring and to fine-tune the different color tones, again, there are ways to do it, and I'm pretty sure that different photographers have their own separate ways of doing it. Some people use split toning, some people just do this in Lightroom directly, and there's nothing wrong with it. As long as it works for you, that's great. But this is how I do it. I basically just separate, you know, the three different layers, meaning the highlights, the midtone, and the shadow, so that I have more freedom in terms of controlling the color in each one of the layers, and hopefully the result turn out to be what I want. So for example, like right here, I feel like there's too much of a red tone going on. A lot of people will argue that sometimes the skin, regardless of the retouching of the entire image, sometimes you want the entire image, you want the skin to be natural, but I tend to disagree with that. But again, this is very subjective, and it's just up to everyone's own discretion. But I tend to disagree with that, just because if the entire tone of the image is, for example, bluish, that means you're trying to present a blue sky for that day, and if the sky is blue, then naturally your face on the skin, or the other way, your skin on the face is going to be bluish as well, just because that's how light works. So that's how I tend to edit my image. I try to imitate how eyes will observe the world, but at the same time I give it some twist as well, just because you want the art pieces of the finished product to be lifelike, but at the same time it needs to be elevated. That's how I see this entire process. So right now I'm seeing a lot of blue tone. So right here, Lightroom calls it aqua tone. I found it very interesting. It's there's a little hue of blue that I don't necessarily really like, so I'll basically just dial it down right here and decrease the saturation a little bit, and decrease the blue saturation a little bit as well, just to so that it doesn't look so disturbing to me. But I'm sure that different people will see it differently on different screen, and you different color profile on the screen matters as well. So but to me, this is what bothers me just now. It's a small deal, but I like to make it close to as perfect as possible. So, and the last step is basically just to give it a little bit sharpness. Nothing too crazy, because if you do it too crazy, it's gonna make your image cartoon-like, and that's what I don't like. But again, this is down to personal preference. Some people will like their image to pop as much as it can. I tend not to do that, but again, it's personal style, personal preference. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. So that's pretty much the entire thing, really. So I'm gonna save the file again, just because I've lost the entire thing before, and that's pretty much it. I will see you in the comments.